Good morning. I want to call the June 16th meeting of the Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee. Call our meeting to order. Can we stand and pledge allegiance to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Our first order of business is the draft agenda. Are there any amendments or comments to the agenda? If not, we need a motion to approve.
I'll move it be approved as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. So we have an approved agenda. We have two new members to the ERC, and one of them is present today, Candace Seaman.
Correct.
Candace.
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 I'd be interested in hearing just a little bit about you, where you're from and that kind of thing, how long you've been here.
I'm a retired family physician. I moved here 5 years ago to work for Novant at their Carolina Shores office. Before that, I was living and practiced in Ohio for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've loved it down here. And when I retired a year ago, not the retirement I planned, because all of a sudden COVID popped in there.
Yep.
But one of the things I hoped for when I retired was to have the time to be more involved in the community.
Cool.
And even coming down, my husband and I had planned to retire down here, and he passed away. So I thought, what am I waiting for? Come while I can still get to know the community. So I'm really looking forward to working with the Environmental Resource Committee.
Whereabouts in Ohio, just out of curiosity?
I lived and worked in Lebanon, which is between Dayton and Cincinnati.
Okay.
So kind of the southwest.
Yeah,
Excuse me, is your mic on?
Is it? I think it's on.
You can't hear it?
I couldn't hear, but I can't hear anyway.
yeah.
I lost my hearing aids.
Oh dear. I grew up in South Bend, Indiana. Went to college, undergraduate at Ball State, which is not too far up the way.
My niece went there for her master's.
Cool.
It's Ball State's great.
Yeah.
And cousins went to Notre Dame, so I'm
Oh,
familiar
cool.
with both
Yeah.
those areas.
All right. We'll talk later. I don't have all this stuff.
You live in Seatrail?
I live in Twin Lakes community.
Okay.
She lives a couple blocks from Pete.
Yeah.
From
How about
Pete
that?
Larkin.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Pete?
Yeah, and you're not far from Tim.
Who is this gentleman?
He's a member of the community.
Oh, good. Okay. Should I get his
And
name?
we'll give him an opportunity to
Okay.
talk to us in a minute.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The other new member is a gentleman named Stephen Levine. Steve lives off of Shoreline Drive.
Yeah, just up the road.
He could not be here today, so we'll get to meet him in July.
Let me ask, just out of curiosity, why couldn't they not vote and so forth today? Why could Candace not participate in the meeting and vote and what have you?
She can.
Oh, she can.
I had to be sworn
Oh,
in,
okay.
and Lisa was nice enough to do that right before the
She
meeting.
was sworn in before the meeting.
Okay.
before we
Okay. I
started.
saw your email the other day. Okay. Never mind. I'm behind. I'm running behind as
John,
usual.
the reason why that Steve couldn't participate in a virtual is, one, we're going away from virtual because we're fully back up. That's why we have members in the audience, or a member in the audience.
Okay.
And then the other thing is that he would have to be sworn in
Got
before he
it.
could participate.
I'll catch up. Just work with me. Okay.
You're making me feel right at home.
Things move fast around here, Don. You know,
Yeah. Apparently. Yeah.
We'll try to keep you appraised.
Well,
of
good
that.
luck with that.
It's hard to do under the public meeting laws, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll get
We lost our vice chairman. Greg is no longer on the committee, so we need to select someone to be a vice chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, if, again, you would need a motion and then a second and then a vote for that person to fill that chair. I will say that if two things, that if it, for example, if it is Dawn being moved into that, then we would need to move to elect a new clerk or
New secretary.
secretary. The other thing is I'll give you the option if you wanted to wait until Steve comes on in July, we could certainly do that as well, but that is totally up to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well,
Well, do either one of you two have an interest to become the vice chairman?
no, not at this time. I don't.
No, I don't.
Okay, well then let's wait a month.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I will not be here in July, as a reminder.
Okay,
So,
All right, so we will postpone that month. If you just want somebody to make a motion in a second and carry that through, we can carry that till July, if that's the pleasure of the board.
okay, can I have a motion to move that to our July agenda?
I would move to move that until the July agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
all right.
Okay. The next item are any discussion of items for the ERC that aren't on the agenda.
Well, I was going to ask about the rain garden visit, but I see that's down the way, so I'll just hold my fire. with
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so the next item is public comments on the agenda. Sir, do you have anything you would like to talk to the committee about?
Primarily, I'm here to observe and learn. My name is Richard Dysinger. I live at 704 Fairway Drive East. My family has owned property here since 1991, so
Okay,
I've seen a fair share of the arc here. And obviously, I think I've been at some meetings and made some statements saying I think this is a very critical time in Sunset Beach. The Riptide's takeover of the declarant position in sea trails and some of the things that they've been pushing.
right.
So wanted to have my voice heard, but mostly today I'm here to listen and learn and, potentially see if there's a way I can be of more value in terms of the community.
Just as an aside, thank you for your input. Just as an aside, I get, well, obviously you know this, they have removed a lot of trees in there. I guess they're getting ready to put in townhouses, duplexes, or houses or something in there. I don't know.
Yeah, they are clearing for their Birds Watch subdivision.
Okay.
So I think they're bringing
Yeah.
forth potentially the first 10 to 15
Yeah.
plots of that.
I take a guy to dialysis that lives in there. So I'm in there 3 days a week, twice actually, every day. It's a big project. I mean, a lot of trees have come out of there, a lot of big trees too. So,
Yeah, and I mean, that was approved by the planning board
Yeah.
as far as their preliminary
Yeah.
plat, and they have
Right.
permissions to
Yeah.
go to be doing that.
I figured it would be, yeah. Okay, well, thanks. Okay.
And I see there was just another large community approved by the county that's outside of the
Yeah,
town.
the county has so within, from McDonald's just across the street on 17 to Sunset Beach, between what's the subdivisions that have been submitted in and what's being worked on, the sanctuary including into that, with the 300 homes there.
Yeah.
Jaguar's Lair has a proposal of just over 1,000. The 300 to 500 that's being proposed roughly in Sea Trail.
Yeah.
And then the 2,100 on the west side of Sandpiper Bay, along with another 13 to 1,700 on the adjacent side of 17 of McDonald's. It's a busy time for this area. Probably looking at easily proposed 3 to 5, 7,000 new units just in this area alone.
If they're all built.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
why I said proposed.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, you're talking about minimum of at least one project that I have here,
yeah.
and the 2 projects that are at least in the county in this area that I know about. You're looking at 10 to 15 year build outs.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, not to belabor this, but people tend to think they're all going to go in at one time. That does not happen for a lot of people. The market may go bust. Who knows, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay,
Go all the way to 17.
So the one on the west side of Sandpiper Bay will connect Georgetown to Thomasboro across that corner.
yeah.
And then 17 up next to McDonald's on the same side as the old golf cart business. There's a
It's
development going in there.
it's interesting. I was a town planner at Oak Island way back in the day. People have what I call, frankly, the burn the bridge mentality. I've got my little piece of it. Let's build a wall here. Don't want anybody else in. I hear a lot
well,
of
that's exactly how the people felt when the communities we live in. were
Yeah. No more building.
Yeah. All right. The next item are the meeting minutes from the last 2 meetings. We have minutes from April 21st. Are there any changes required to these minutes?
Gosh, it's been so long since we met, and I guess I wrote these. I did write about it. Did you find anything in them? I don't remember anything.
No, they're good.
Okay. Well, since I wrote them, I'll move they be accepted.
Is there a second to that?
A second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, May 19th meeting. We did not have a meeting
Right.
on May 19th because we didn't have a quorum. So we need to include in the minutes of today's meeting
Okay.
that there was no May 19th meeting due to a lack of quorum.
Okay. Gotcha.
And you need to sign these.
Oh, yes, I do.
We'll get those to Lisa.
Well, let me finish it up. Okay.
Can I give this to you? Thank you. We have no guest speaker this month, so we'll move into the committee review. For your benefit, basically, the ERC was formed primarily to focus on climate change mitigation. As we started looking into other things, we added recycling and stormwater programs. The stormwater program that we're primarily involved with are rain gardens. We've gotten approval from the town council for a rain garden to be built the south end of the property here.
South End, West
That-
End.
I think that's south.
Beach is that way. Well, anyway, I'm a geographer. Never mind.
But on that end of the
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a geography.
Yeah,
I get tangled up. in-
whatever direction.
Right-hand side as we face it, because
That's
I'm
right.
with you. I don't know the directions. but we're-
That
I'm
that
sorry.
rain garden is waiting on the permitting and planning for a parking lot on the property to the other side
Other
of the
side,
building.
Yeah.
And then we'll do rain gardens in both areas.
Just let me insert just, I was thinking about this the other day, maybe having our stormwater person come in a next meeting or two and give us an update on some things, because his predecessor met with us fairly often to give us the ins and outs of some issues around town and what have you. Just a thought.
Can you do that?
I'll speak to Matt, bring him
Yeah.
in on the next meeting on an update. I'd talked to him, and I don't know how often Mr. Michaud was in here, but I told Matt if we could start, bringing him in once a quarter to give an
Yeah,
update.
yeah.
That'd be great, and we're due for that, so I'll bring him in at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Michaud used to basically come to every meeting we had.
Most of them.
He didn't stay the whole time,
Yeah.
but we always had some chance to communicate with him. And I think we should talk to Matt at
Yeah.
the next meeting
Oh, yeah.
about the stormwater and rain garden activities. Okay, the first thing we're going to cover is the Town of Sunset Beach recycling program. In May, I gave a recycling report to the town council on May 3rd on behalf of the ERC. The primary purpose of the discussion with the council was to get their approval for us to work with the North Carolina Division of Environmental Assistance and Customer Service, also known as DEECS. DEECS is a part of the Department of Environmental Quality for North Carolina, primarily focused on recycling. And the town council gave us permission to work with them. There is a history of our recycling activities in this report, beginning in January of this year, where we had Mickey Bozeman from the Brunswick County Solid Waste and Recycling. She's a coordinator for solid waste and recycling. She actually came and met with us and spoke to us, and has been providing some materials for us to use. In February, we had a video of the recycling center in Jacksonville, North Carolina, run by Sunoco. And then in March, we talked to Kevin Fisher from the Sunoco Recycling Group to discuss what they were doing in recycling. All educational background. In April, Greg and I participated in a regional recycling virtual meeting put on by DEECS to look at the economic and environmental benefits of recycling. In April at our ERC meeting, we talked about the April 5th meeting and what we've learned about recycling. And then the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and the county and Brunswick County have quite a bit of recycling information on their websites. So there's a lot of material and background that we've gone through to study recycling. One of the things we learned is that the landfill in Bolivia is limited to construction and demolition debris only. None of the household waste that's collected in any of our local areas is landfilled there. It goes up to a privately owned landfill in Sampson County near Roseboro, North Carolina. All the recycled materials collected in town go to the Sunoco recycling facility near Jacksonville, North Carolina. Both of those are rather lengthy commutes.
Yeah.
The household waste materials and the recycling materials are transferred into larger containers, which are transported to their destinations. The fact that we have to use a privately owned landfill is is an indication that we're probably going to run into steadily increasing costs for disposal of household waste. And as we've learned from the recycling operation, the cost of recycling materials is highly variable.
Yeah.
It goes up and down with seasons and with changes in the use of the materials. But we are very unique in North Carolina and South Carolina in that there are many businesses here that use recycled material as raw material for their operations. The plastics are used by Sunoco to make the clamshell plastics that you buy food in. Aluminum materials go to aluminum recyclers. Paper materials are collected and go to people that recycle that into cardboard and paper products. In my experience, living in the mid-Atlantic area in Maryland and before that up in New York, there weren't that many businesses that used recycled material, and there was a problem with local communities as to what do we do with this stuff. And in some communities, they just commingle their recycled materials with their household waste.
You know, it's interesting.
Landfill it.
Interesting you mentioned that, John. One of the things I think we talked about when Ms. Bozeman was here is that one of the reasons some people don't recycle is that because they think, well, it all goes in the same thing anyway, you know. And I had somebody mention that to me a couple of weeks ago. Somehow recycling came up. He said, well, it all goes in the same place anyway. Why bother? So that's a what is that? That's a myth that's hard to overcome.
Yeah, Sunoco has told us that 80% of the material that comes into their recycling center gets processed and used as raw materials for manufacturing businesses in the Carolinas and in other states in the Southeast. So there are good reasons to do recycling. It supports the economy, it provides jobs for people, and it saves landfill space. Household waste collection is provided by Brunswick County. Cost is included in our county taxes. In Sunset Beach, recycling is an opt-in service. It's an optional choice for homeowners. And we only have about 20% of the people in Sunset Beach that participate in the curbside recycling. There is a drop-off recycling. There are a couple of drop-off recycling locations near Sunset Beach where homeowners can take their recycling on their own and drop it off. One is on Seaside Road up above the hardware store, and the other is at the Ocean Isle Beach Park out on Georgetown Road.
I may have mentioned this at a previous meeting. See, I lived here about 2 years. I did not know about the one at the park till about a year ago. There's no sign out there or anything. And then I found out at about the same time about the recycling center up there off of 904. And I've driven by that place 100 gazillion, 5,000 million times, you know. There's no sign. There's no reason for me to pull in there. So I felt, Anyway, never expressed that concern to Ms. Bozeman. Anyway,
Yes. They're not very well marked.
No.
Even the one on Seaside Road is not well marked.
Not marked at all. But anyway.
But they are there. So we don't really know what percentage of the community here recycles. We believe it to be low. Sunset Beach is the only community on the Brunswick County coast that doesn't have mandatory recycling. All the other beach communities build recycling into their tax base.
Yeah.
If we were to add it to our taxes here, it's somewhere between 3 to 5 cents on the tax rate. So it's never been added to the.
Excuse me, the increase would be about 4 cents to the tax
4
base.
cents.
Well, I'm very passionate about recycling. Maybe I need to shut up, but the other thing I think that you and I talked about one day, John, was that if we had the recycling the collection every other week, my wife and I would still have to take stuff to the recycling center because we fill up on those blue dumpsters easily in a week, easily in 2 weeks, easily. But that's another thing.
Well, ours is packed full by the end of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
I
Now,
think the people, the people around me, and I've discussed this with a lot of people, is the majority of the people would do it if it was on the taxes.
Right.
And we're telling our community that, no, we can't do that because we don't have the money.
Right.
And to me, it's important that we do this because it's effective in Ocean Isle.
Yeah.
We got property in Ocean Isle, and we take care of those cans. We do what's right, and I'm really disgusted myself with what's happening here.
Well, I know I've said this before. When I lived in Charlotte, we had recycling. It was part of we didn't pay for it separately. We paid for it indirectly, but it wasn't, we didn't get a bill for it. So you think it's free, which is obviously it's not free.
Right.
Yeah.
How did those other communities include it in their taxes? Was it in the county tax or
no, it's in the town tax.
in the town tax?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Brunswick County does not want to add to their taxes for recycling. If they did it on a countywide basis, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would also cover unincorporated
Oh, yeah.
communities.
Correct. There is I'll make a couple points here. Is one, that the town's not going to increase their tax base. That's up to the governing board to do that, which is our council. It would be up to them to make that decision to increase it. There is an option for opting into that service at a discounted rate instead of going. It's through Green for Life, but the town, if you opt into it through the town, you get a discounted rate than going straight through the county. I think it's like $140 because I live in the unincorporated part of the county. It's about $140, $160 a year, which break it down to it's about $14 a month. And I've actually looked into it. The other thing is I understand the frustration with the the recycling and opting in to making it mandatory. I know certain towns are starting to move away from it. The previous experience with being in a town up in Pender County, the year that I left, they were looking at having to take thousands of dollars, a pretty significant amount out of their fund balance to make it balanced, so they would not have to increase the fund balance, and then ultimately looking at it last budget year, this budget year, to potentially remove it. So it's something that's moving forward because the cost of recycling keeps going up and not staying stagnant or moving back down. I think the biggest thing, and I think I said this when we first got started, first came on board, I think the biggest thing we can do, and my recommendation to the board would be to work on the education side. I know that it's not in our jurisdiction to put a sign out there. Maybe talking to Mickey about trying to get one. I know the information's up on the website, but getting the information out there, hey, you do have this option. I know we talked to briefly about trying to get some flyers, magnets, and all that to the beachfront, but ultimately trying to educate the public, the general public, on what goes into recycling. Spend some time there. This board doesn't really have a fundage, but it would be something if we're passionate about it, do some flyers or some kind of recycling work, that type thing to educate the public. That would be something the chairman, vice chairman, or myself as your staff liaison could potentially bring that to the board for some funding toward that.
In working with, well, basically that summarizes the presentation that we gave to the town council. So after that meeting, I've continued working with Deeks and gotten a lot of additional information from them. What I would like to do is create, I'd like somebody on the committee, or I'd like two people on the committee to volunteer to work together and to kind of get their arms around all this recycling information and sort of take charge of this going forward. We got a lot of stuff on our plate, and this needs more attention than I can give to it.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm extremely passionate about recycling, maybe a little bit too much. I'd be willing to work with somebody else on the committee to take this off the committee's plate, so to speak, for a while and let us work on it and then report back to the committee our findings, in a couple months or whatever. It's a big, recycling is a big thing with a lot of moving parts, and I'm not even sure a subcommittee could handle all of them, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Well, that was something Greg was quite interested
Yeah.
in. I know you've expressed interest in it also, Harold.
I'd be happy to work on it with you, as long as there's somebody here who sort of knows some of the history of what's already done. And,
Well, I think,
you
yeah.
know, to jump in
I
and
would
get.
relinquish to Candace.
Candace.
I think what we could do, and I'm just speaking out of turn and off, shooting from the hip and all that stuff, but I think what we could do, Candace, is somewhere along the way meet with Chad to kind of get his view of these things. I don't know.
I have a lot of information that I need
yeah.
to pass on to
Well,
you too.
and I appreciate that. I think the concern is my mother used to say this. She was an old country girl. You can bite off more, you can chew on sometimes, and I don't want to try to build the space shuttle when really a bicycle will suffice for us, if you understand what I mean. That's, why don't we take your stuff, John, and look through it somehow and maybe glean some of it, and then Candace and I can, this might take a while to do this actually.
Yeah,
too.
but we have some time.
Yeah, we do. So we'd be willing to take a shot at it. I assume.
We need a motion,
Yeah.
John, to
Yeah.
do that.
Well, unless there's more discussion that needs to take place.
The only thing I will speak up and say is we've got to be careful of subcommittees and having quorums outside of our meeting time.
Yeah, it'd be
And
just
I know
two of us.
Don, I know, Don,
Yeah.
you're very familiar with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's my only concern with that.
So maybe let me
I-
clarify, because my understanding would be that we're going to do some research.
You
and
have-
dig
just
in
two,
and
yeah.
to come
Two.
back to this
It
committee.
can
We-
just be no more than two.
You're right.
And if I need to be a part of that, setting some time for us three to sit down, then that's okay as well.
My vision of this, now I've only thought about this for about 3 minutes, is that the two of us would probably meet initially to bring Candace up to speed a little bit and kind
that would help.
of get a sense of what we want to do, and then meet with you, and then maybe meet again. Now, this is not going to happen next week, or even the week after. It's going to take a little bit of time to get a feel for this, and maybe report back to the committee, to this committee in August as to what we've done and so forth. I won't be here in July for one thing, or have Candace make a report and try to move this thing along a little bit.
Well,
Yes, that does. Mhm.
since we got the approval to work with Deeks, I've gotten a lot of information from them. there is a report that they have issued called the State of the State Recycling Report. And I can send you copies of this.
Okay.
But every year in the spring, they issue a update on recycling programs across the state. 2/3 of local governments in the state of North Carolina have recycling programs. Sunset Beach has a recycling program. We are listed in their database as a town with a program. 49% of the local governments in the state have curbside recycling.
Wow.
And for those that don't have curbside, they have drop-off recycling. We happen to have both.
Cool.
When you look at their database of curbside drop-off and other type programs, totals more than 100%
My contact.
because there are communities that have both. But as Chad said, our primary, the primary programs that we can probably do effectively are educational. But there are other things we can do to provide resources that go into the educational category. One is to work on the website for the town and putting the information in multiple places
Okay.
so that it's available for residents
Okay.
and for
Okay.
visitors.
Yeah. Let me stop here for a second, John. I've got distracted, which is not unusual. Where are we? Is 9A?
We're in 9A down in the second bullet.
Review or town council approval and so forth.
One of the
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm still not. Are we under 9A, Roman 2, town council approval to work with DX? Are we there?
yes,
Okay, all right. Okay, sorry. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm with you.
this is the report we gave to the council. You can
Okay.
have a copy to
Okay.
Candace.
Thank you.
You all have received this before, but here's another copy. Now, some of the information we received, the State of the State Recycling Report is very interesting in terms of understanding how we compare against other communities in the state.
Right.
Our opt-in program is less effective than a mandatory program, obviously. And for local reasons, we've decided not to do a mandatory program. But the thought occurred to me this morning that with the new communities, with the large volume of new homes coming in, and the additional revenue, tax revenue that will be associated with those homes, that maybe we'll be able to find a way to put the mandatory recycling into the tax base without raising the tax rate. Something to think about. And I think one of the ways the other communities have been able to do that is because of the growth in their communities. That growth provides a lot more services to people.
Well,
because
there's some
of-
economy of scale there.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think what you talked about today in the this handout will be helpful to Candace and I
To get started.
as it gets started. So I think we'll be.
Now, there's a couple other ideas that have come from Deeks. One is to have a town ordinance that basically models after the North Carolina general statutes. In North Carolina general statutes, disposal of aluminum cans and plastic in the landfill is banned. And municipalities are encouraged to, are supposed to be encouraging people to separate recyclable material from their household waste. So that would mean telling people that we encourage them to not dispose of aluminum cans and plastic containers and cardboard and paper products in their household waste. They be separated for recycling. They either be handled through a curbside pickup or they be taken to a drop-off location. That's an approach that's being taken by many municipalities. So I think we need to study that. I'm not suggesting we do that right away, but we need to study that and talk about it and talk to staff about it and see where we want to take this.
I would like to know who is in charge of 904 and who hires the personnel to work out there. What does that come under?
As far as the recycling center on 904, it's all part of Brunswick County.
Brunswick County?
Yeah.
It's either Brunswick County or Green for
The
Life.
county,
one of
the county
You mean
has
on
several.
Seaside?
Because
904.
let me rephrase the one at the park. Is that the one you're talking
No,
about?
not the park.
Okay.
904 on the left.
That's Brunswick County.
That's the county. They've got 5 or 6 convenience sites around the county.
Which is partnered through Green for Life.
And that's the one that I didn't know they had recycling out there till just a year or so ago. I've been by it, I don't know how many times. The signage is almost non-existent.
But that's operated by Brunswick County.
Right.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
go on to the Brunswick County website, it'll tell you all about their convenience centers and,
Well,
but
not,
that's all been put in place by the
not to
county.
beat this to death, I guess. They've got a sign out there that's in real small print that you can't read from the road. But that's, anyway, yeah, it's,
And the one at the OIB park is also the county?
yeah, they have a recycling dumpster out there.
I've seen that there, but I didn't realize it was for recycling. I thought it was just general.
Well, now, see, again,
Because it's not marked very well.
It's not
'cause I
marked
go to
either.
that park quite often.
I tried my best to get the county to put signage out there, and they said, don't get it. So, but anyway,
All right,
yeah, let's go. Let's
All
move
right.
it. Let me get off
we,
that
we,
horse.
we can talk to
We'll put
Vicki.
that in ours.
Yeah.
Now, one thing the Deeks told me was that a number of communities have studied whether they want to continue to have mandatory recycling
Right.
or go to an opt-in program. And one of them was Oak Island. Now,
Right.
Chad, you came from that area, so you may know more about this, but I was told they formed a task force of community people to study the recycling program that they had and whether they wanted to stay with mandatory recycling or not. And their conclusion was to stay with mandatory recycling.
I have not worked for the town of Oak Island since 2018.
Okay.
So if that was something that was done after I left, then that's what they decided to
I
do.
know the town planner down there pretty well. I used to
Jake.
work with him. Yeah, and if, I may give him a call one day when we get to that point.
Well, the point about that is that there was a community that
Right.
was concerned about the cost and
Right.
all the other things that everybody's concerned
Yeah.
about. And they really sat down and
Well-
looked at it as a community and agreed that it was good and they wanted to continue to do
And
that.
I think that's a good point. On the other hand, Oak Island's profile is somewhat different than ours. So it's a little bit of an apples and oranges thing, although I agree that, but it's worth talking with them and see what their situation is.
I can reach out. I know the town planner
Yeah.
is leaving. His
Oh, is he?
last day is coming up in a few weeks.
Oh, where's he
So
going?
He is. His wife got a teaching job in Sweden, so he is
No.
transitioning there. Jake with the planner for Oak Island. I mean, and again, I mean, from what I know about Oak Island, it's the largest beach municipality in the state. I mean, somewhat hard to believe, but when you look at area and what they cover, I know a lot of people think about the Outer Banks and that type of area. Well, Outer Banks is broken up into Kill Devil Hills, Nag's Head,
Yeah.
and Duck.
Yeah.
Correct. So you've got about 3 spanning that coastline up
Right.
there. Again, it goes back to if the board is not going to move on the increasing of the cent tax base, then we have to move to
Right.
educating the
Yeah.
general public on what they can and can't do.
I
with
think
the
that's the
recycling.
approach we probably need to stick with. But anyway, we'll Candace and I will try to get our hands around some of this stuff and report back to the full committee.
Well, the next item is recycling further thoughts. After the presentation to council and reviewing, talking with Deeks and thinking about recycling, 2 things came up. One is the idea of an ordinance, and the other is an idea of a website. A website can be done as an educational tool, and what we can learn from that. And if we find it necessary or valuable to recommend an ordinance to the council, we can do that. Or if they want us to work on creating an ordinance, we can do that. But right now, that's just an idea. It's not it's not a recommendation.
Okay.
But I got this list of
Was this in the handout?
no,
I mean, in the email?
no,
Yeah. Well,
no. Those are my.
let's see. I got something that looks just like it
Do you?
from you.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
then I did put it on the agenda.
Yeah, it was in the packet that was mailed out by Lisa.
Okay.
Or so, I don't know. I got it from somewhere. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Is that extra copies?
that's yours.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments about recycling? I think you two have a lot of catching
We
up
do.
to
We do. We got a lot to get to work on.
At the end of the meeting. One of the other ideas that has come up, they came from Lisa, is that we consider putting out the word in the community for volunteers to work on recycling promotion through the town.
Right.
Passing out flyers or
Right.
working on the beach
Right.
or at grocery stores
Right.
or other locations to promote recycling more through the town. So that we'll keep that idea in mind and see if we can incorporate that into a program. All right, the next item is the Resilient Coastal Communities Program. It's been a while since we were chosen to be part of that.
So I am in the process of, we're working on our resiliency plan. I think kind of where we're hazard kind of plan, where we're at with that, updating that. I am speaking with Moffett Nickel roughly about one every 2 to 3 weeks. I think I have a conference call coming up with them at the end of June, before we get into the July 4th festivities and time off and all that. There has been a committee that would need to be formed with that. I have talked with Lisa on my thoughts and members of the community that I will reach out to form that and go from there. Once and then continue to work with Moffitt Nickel to get ultimately a project and report done by the end of September. So I'm continually to work on that, and that's kind of what I have to report so far.
Is there anything for us to be doing?
Not yet.
Okay. The next item is the rain garden project and the property stormwater permit where
So the project, the parking lot project was approved unanimously by the planning board earlier this month in June. I know that Lisa and Dustin, it has to go out for formal bidding. And I know it's in that process of now, but they have planning approval, working on going through the official bid process and then ultimately choosing that bid by council and putting boots on the ground. And then things will be starting to get installed.
While we've been waiting for that to happen, I reached out to the North Carolina Coastal Federation and have made contact with a woman named Tracy Scrabble, who's the manager of the Wrightsville Beach office. And she is one that has offered to host visitors in Wilmington to visit some of their rain garden projects and to look at other things they're doing as best practices for stormwater management on a residential basis. I just got an email yesterday from one of the people who works for Tracy that they're planning a informal field trip for volunteers on Wednesday, July 21st. And we've been invited to participate in that. Now, because of the public meeting laws, we can only have 2 of our members go to Wilmington to do that. Unfortunately, it's a date I'm not available. But I would like to have you all look at your calendars and let me know if you can.
I'll be in Indiana.
Okay.
I don't know my schedule right now. I'd have to wait, look at it.
I'm happy since I'm retired. I don't have a big schedule. The only thing I would have on a Wednesday would be this meeting, because that would
Yeah, that's
probably be
the-
the third.
That's the day of the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, darn, that is.
Otherwise, I would be happy to
Yeah, I
go.
didn't.
I'd like to learn more about the rain gardens. I
Well,
want to put one
we-
in my yard, as a matter of fact, and it's
You
hard
what?
to figure out how to get started with it. I'd like to put one in
We
my
can't
yard.
go there as a meeting, right?
We can't because of the meeting. So I will get back to Carrie and see if we can get another time. We've had this standing offer, but we've never been able to set a date. The other part of this is that the Coastal Federation also works closely with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension.
Right.
And there is a local office in Bolivia.
There's one in every county, actually.
Right,
I'm
okay.
sorry. Does the Coastal Federation have an office in Bolivia?
The county extension.
The extension has an office in Bolivia?
Yes.
Okay, they've got an office in every county. That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what
Well,
extension, yeah.
I've made contact with the local representative in Bolivia, and she's available to talk to us about rain gardens, and perhaps we could get her to come to one of our meetings and kind of revisit what we've done.
Right.
I've got to talk to her some more and find out what she's thinking about, because I think we've already got the information available that they provide. But there is a rain garden project in Bolivia next to their office that we can go look at. And there's also a botanical gardens up there that's supposed to be pretty nice.
They've got the Master Gardener program has done a lot out there in recent years. It's probably worth a visit, or stop coming and going from Wilmington or whatever. Okay.
So the 21st is our next meeting. We can't. And we've got Amy Mead available as needed, and their rain garden is there for a demonstration project.
No, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, what time is that rain garden field trip? What are the hours that they're opening up at?
Maybe they'll start at 9 a.m. in the morning. Okay. So I think I've covered rain gardens and Coastal Federation. Is there any, did we ever get accepted into the
Yeah, I haven't heard anything different. I've submitted everything, and to my knowledge, it was accepted. So,
Okay. So we're working with town council. We have gotten accepted into the Tree City USA program, and we didn't do anything last year because of the pandemic. We've got to think about what we want to do going forward. The next item is the update on the ERC open positions. We've already done that. And then I'll remind everybody to follow the DEQ on Twitter and by email. And I'll add the Coastal Federation to that. I think to get their periodic updates, you have to become a member of the Coastal Federation by making a donation. So it's something to look at and decide if you want to do that or not. John Corbett, our council member, has told us about an upcoming forum on microplastics. And I think we've all received that email, and I have registered to be part of that forum. If anyone else intends to participate in that forum, we need to coordinate our activities, because in a committee, we're only allowed to have 2 of our members participate in that forum. Candace, I would think, because of your medical background, that might be something.
I'd be really interested.
Of
I don't have any
interest.
information about it or when it is.
I'll
So,
send you a
okay.
copy of the email.
Yeah, because if I could do that, I would like to.
So maybe you and I would do that.
Okay.
Um,
Plus, that kind of fits in with the recycling, so
yes.
I can bring you back the information down.
So we get to item 10 and the items for next month's agenda. I got the June date here. That's wrong. It should be July 21. But we'll continue to talk about recycling, the climate change mitigation activities that are going on in the town are primarily being done through the Resilient Coastal Communities program. And then we've got the stormwater activities with our rain garden projects. And we'll continue to work with the Coastal Federation, the Cooperative Extension, and get more involved in Tree City USA activities. So there's a lot of things to talk about and to do. Are there any other items that we should put on our agenda for next month? If anything comes up, please let me know. All right, the next item is public comments. Or if you have any comments that you would like to share with us about what we talked about.
This has been very enlightening. And by the way, south is that way. So,
That's right, that's right.
Okay.
so it's the west part.
What was your name again?
Richard Dysinger, 704 Fairway Drive East. I'm somewhat unusual in that, again, my family's owned property here since 1991, but I am also kind of a New York migrant, having purchased property here in 2015 and finally moved down about a year and a half ago. So I kind of see myself as having a foot in both camps. And the thing I would say about mandatory recycling for the person that's migrating down here, that's a standard. You come down here and you go, what?
Yeah.
It's not mandatory? How can that be? So I think this is something that we have to, and I put this in the framework, and I've said this at a couple of public meetings. The great fear here is, yes, it's a beautiful place. More people want to live here. We want to welcome them. We want to create an environment where they can come, find housing that they can afford, become members of the community. The challenge is most communities lose their essence because they try and get 8 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. And then the very thing that attracted people here to begin with is lost. And I feel like Sunset Beach, I mean, obviously we can't do anything about all the development that's going on in Brunswick County. The fact that they could do that burn up at the sanctuary was just, I mean, I personally know of 2 families within the Sea Trails community that left because of that. Had purchased, planned to retire, and said, we're going back.
Right.
And that's a trend you want to avoid. So I see that as, yes, I understand, increased taxes, oh my God, but there's going to have to be some hard decisions about how, if we're going to be a unique community, these are the standards. And when you move here, hey, you pay a little more to get recycled. I mean, if you want to solve the bins too full, in my community in New York, recycle was once a week, right? So the cost of that, obviously. But the second thing, too, is a lot of what happens here is people kind of informally move their recycling around. My wife goes nuts because she'll see a pickup truck filled with refuse with no cover on it, and it's just spewing trash all up and down 904.
Amen.
So, there needs to be, somebody needs to be out there writing citations. If there isn't a law on that, there ought to be. But these are some of the things that are going to increase the quality of life around here. So I really urge you to look as not if, but how in terms of mandatory recycling.
Well, that's a decision that has to be made by the council. not by
Understood.
us. But
I will interject. Are you
Go ahead. No,
Okay,
I look forward to your comments.
There is a law that trucks and so forth have to be covered. The problem is catching them.
Right.
Because we've got a limited number of law enforcement out there. It's a big county, real big county. That's one of the problems with litter up and down the roads. You never see it thrown out of a vehicle, but my gosh, it's there.
Yeah. And I guess the second thing in terms of the stormwater, I think we would all agree that last year, in terms of mosquito infestation in Sunset Beach, was the worst year here. I mean, I go back to 91, and it was as bad as I've ever seen it by an order of magnitude. Right. So I think the stormwater issue, because you run around after a rain, and there's just stormwater issues all over the place, and I don't know how we tackle that. I mean, I have one in my front yard. I mean, there's a lake every time it rains, so I'm not sure what the appropriate means are to get resources on that into the community, but that's something else that
I've got to say this. One of the benefits of the drought.
Thank you, sir.
Don, we have to let him finish.
Oh, I thought he was done.
Oh,
no, I think I'm done.
I'm sorry.
So
okay. Thank you, Richard.
one of the benefits of the drought was the very few mosquitoes out there. So far, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any, that's the end of the agenda? I think we've reached the end of our meeting, so I need a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's over.